Okay, I don't want to be the next guy to hate on the Jacksonville Jaguars because they are in the situation they're in for a reason, but there are certain decisions that a franchise makes that just clearly indicate that they have no freaking idea what they are doing, and I believe today the Jaguars just made another one. Now, I wanted to give you guys a huge update in regards to the state of my channel. I made a brand new Twitter and a brand new TikTok. It's at Mikerophone NFL, just so I could separate the basketball content from the football content for you guys. I figured you guys would all appreciate that, so make sure you check it out. Sack the like button for the YouTube algorithm for me real quick. Consider subscribing and turning on our notifications. And now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars, or the Saxonville Jaguars, were one of the most electrifying defenses that I've ever seen. And honestly, it was a defense that I never thought would get dismantled. I mean, from Miles Jack to Telvin Smith to Malik Jackson to Marcel Darius to Calais Campbell, all the way to their offense, which, yeah, they had Blake Bortles and Leonard Fournette, but this team was a remarkably built defense and a pretty decent offense, and what brought it all together was a cornerback by the name of Jalen Ramsey and his partner in crime, AJ Bouye. And honestly, when a team is constructed this well, you think to yourself, there's no way this team is ever going to get dismantled. I mean, it's too hard to dismantle them. Honestly, like, how do you get rid of all of these stud players? Ultimately, what would go down is, of course, they would get dismantled. Calais Campbell was traded a year ago, AJ Bouye as well. Jalen Ramsey was traded 2 years ago for 2 first-round picks, and guess what they ended up doing to try to replace Jalen Ramsey? Well, about a year ago, the Jacksonville Jaguars drafted CJ Henderson, a cornerback that is 6'1" out of Florida, and everyone knew what that pick was about. It was all about replacing Jalen Ramsey, which, by the way, already really freaking hard to do. This is the second time a cornerback was drafted from a college which had to do with Florida to go to Jacksonville, Florida. What could go wrong? After all, you're going to stay close to home and you're going to be a very important piece of that defense. Well, here's the thing. The Jacksonville Jaguars of 2020 were not like the Jacksonville Jaguars of 2017. They were still a very dysfunctional organization, which is why Jalen Ramsey wanted out to begin with. And CJ Henderson joined a team whose offensive coordinator was Jay freaking Gruden and whose defense was number 31 in the entire league. And honestly, that's to be expected once you dismantled one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. What do you expect? Well, of course, CJ Henderson, when you looked at his stats in a vacuum, he didn't look so good in his first season. He had 32 solo tackles, he had 1 forced fumble, he had 1 interception, and he had a passer rating allowed of 111.7. Now, his overall Pro Football Focus grade was 57.9. I don't typically go by Pro Football Focus grades, but in this instance, when you have a player that is joining a depleted defense, it's really hard to grade the man in of itself. And this past year was more of the same. This was supposed to be a culture-shifting year for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and to be honest, outside of Trevor Lawrence, I don't think they really did a remarkable job in the NFL draft, but it's still too soon to comment on that. I always hate on them for drafting Travis Etienne instead of going offensive line with their second first-round pick. I just felt like that was a waste of a draft pick, especially because James Robinson performed really well last year. But this year was just more of a dumpster fire than last year was. I mean, CJ Henderson's run defense improved to an 80.5 Pro Football Focus grade. His overall grade is 51.5. His coverage grade is 43.3. He has 5 solo tackles. He has 2 stops. He has a 150 passer rating allowed. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if this is a CJ Henderson issue or if it's a Jacksonville Jaguars issue. I personally think it's a little bit of both. I mean, when you're on a team that has won as little as the Jacksonville Jaguars have, at a specific point, it it gets tough to remain motivated. I mean, if you're on a contending team and you're being held accountable and players are coming up to you and depending on you to make big stops, and that's going to contribute to wins, then that's one thing, but that's not CJ Henderson's situation. As a matter of fact, this past year would have been the best opportunity for there to be a culture shift. You drafted the most transcendent talent since the days of Andrew Luck, and prior to that, the days of Peyton Manning. You got a brand new head coach. Urban Meyer is finally gonna give the NFL a shot. This entire offseason was screaming, this is gonna be culture shifting. This is gonna change the Jaguars culture completely. And then they hire Trent Baalke. And then again, very questionable NFL draft. So then the first 3 games of the Jaguars season started. And today, Trevor Lawrence looks like a glorified bust. I mean, 669 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a 23.3 QBR. Now, I never will go out and call a player a bust until like maybe 2 or 3 years in the NFL. I personally think he's not in a situation to succeed. I think it's really hard for a number 1 overall pick to go to a horrible team and completely change the entire makeup of the team, especially when your rookie quarterback has a rookie head coach that is jumping from college to the official NFL. I think that's the reason why I didn't really agree with the Urban Meyer hire, because I felt like Trevor needed someone that had experience there that could really groom him and get him acclimated to the NFL. And that's not who Urban Meyer is. Urban Meyer is someone that is going to have to make his own mistakes as a head coach in the NFL as well. And I guess at this point, when you bring in Trent Baalke, which if you're a San Francisco 49ers fan, I'm sure you understand why I don't like him very much. He's historically just made horrific decisions, in my opinion, for the San Francisco 49ers in the early 2010s. And to be honest, I think this latest move that we got is an example of that. So if you guys didn't hear, the Carolina Panthers closed in on a trade earlier today, according to Ian Rappaport, where the Panthers are going to trade Dan Arnold and a 3rd round pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a former top 10 pick and a 5th round pick. So they were able to trade a journeyman tight end by the name of Dan Arnold and get CJ Henderson back. So immediately Carolina is going to get some help to replace JC Horn, whereas I guess the Jaguars get a tight end for Trevor Lawrence to target more consistently, which I guess Chris Manhertz wasn't good enough, but this doesn't make a lot of sense to me, with all due respect. I mean, was CJ Henderson so terrible that you decided to exile him to the Carolina Panthers? Does this make sense at all? I mean, first of all, we got to give props to the Carolina Panthers. You have been doing a tremendous job just buying low on high-end talent, and really a player that was literally drafted with the 9th pick in the 2020 draft. All you had to do was give up a 3rd round pick and a journeyman tight end, and you could bring him in. You have a beautiful rookie cornerback duo for the future. They're building a tremendous defense. They did the same thing with Sam Darnold. They just gave up a couple of 2nd round picks for a player that was the number 3 pick in the 2018 NFL draft, and Sam Darnold is balling out in Carolina currently. So this entire move for the Carolina Panthers is an A+, but this move for the Jacksonville Jaguars just tells me you guys have no freaking clue what you're doing there. And the reason why I'm scared is you have a transcendent talent, one of the biggest can't miss prospects in NFL history since the days of Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning, and you are just setting him up to fail over here. I understand the defense was bad, and hey, I understand this could get compared to when the Dolphins traded Minkah Fitzpatrick, which by the way, they got multiple 1st round picks for that. Or when the Jets traded Jamal Adams, which by the way, they got multiple 1st round picks for that. But here, you're just burning a 1st round pick, trading him for nothing when your entire defense literally doesn't put this man in a situation to succeed. You don't get to the quarterback, you don't pressure him, and in any situation, I don't care who the cornerback is. If Jalen Ramsey was still in Jacksonville, if you're not getting pressures on the quarterback, then there's no point. If you give a wide receiver enough time, typically they will get open. And I think that's the situation Henderson was in as well. Again, young rookie, might have a ton of potential, might be the next coming of Eli Apple. You don't know, but guess what? A third round pick and a tight end that is a complete journeyman that I haven't heard of before making this video is worth the risk to really figure that out. I am terrified for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, this makes no sense to me at all. If there was some competence to their decisions, I mean, I usually say the Detroit Lions are a fantastic example of a team that isn't good, but they're competitive. When I watch the Lions, I'm like, okay, this is a competent team that is just devoid of talent. But when I watch the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're a team that has talent. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is a tremendous quarterback in my opinion. They have a decent wide receiver core. James Robinson balled out last year. This offense should at least look above average to average, but they don't. They look horrific. So I am very worried about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I am excited for the Carolina Panthers. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.